All right. Excellent. Well, thank you for joining us for our third webinar. In the last couple of weeks, we kind of went over really if you want to jump into Easy Report Pro and just start making reports, we kind of gave pretty much all the information you needed for that. How to run a report, how to create your outline to get that feel of a report that fits your writing style. And now this week, we are starting into a little bit more depth. How to create, edit, modify your own resources. We have obviously a huge library of resources that are ready to go, but everybody writes reports with their own verbiage. They want to say things a certain way. And so really kind of what sets Easy Report Pro apart is that you can do exactly that. Every single type of resource in the platform is completely customizable. And so that's what we're getting started with. We're going to go over that process tonight with starting simple with paragraphs, a little bit more complicated with checklists. And then in future webinars, we'll get into assessments, recommendations, that sort of thing. But so once again, I'm turning things over to Dr. Michelle Boisvert to go through all of this. And so, Michelle, I will turn it to you. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. And I love what you just said about what sets Easy Report Pro apart from other people, from other platforms. And it's not necessarily just being able to modify these resources, but it's also being able to create your own resources, save them in a private library, and instantly embed them into an outline or use them in a report. It's pretty amazing if you think about it. So as Stu just mentioned, we're really going to focus on copying, modifying, and creating specifically paragraphs and checklists. As we go through this, though, know that any resource can be modified. So like we just heard, assessments can be modified, tables can be modified or created. You can create and modify your own recommendations. So even though we're just focusing on paragraphs and checklists tonight, if you really want to know how to do these assessments, sign up for a free one-to-one training or catch us on our next webinar. So, all right. So we are going to start off with kind of like an overview of how long it takes and where we go to modify these. So modifying existing resources, depending on what you're doing, can just take a few minutes. To access it, though, obviously you log in to Easy Report Pro, come to this home screen, and then navigate to the resource dashboard. You can do it from this navigation bar or, of course, the home screen. So I'm just going to click this. And then right now, we're just going to focus on paragraphs. So you want to select paragraphs as the type of resource that you want to modify. Also, you need to choose the library that you're using. So right now I have it on favorites, but I'm just going to click it over to Easy Report Pro. And as I scroll down, I can see we have got a lot of paragraphs. Remember, paragraphs are standalone text. Things like identifying information kind of headers, signature lines, statements that would not change. So what I want to modify is something that I use every single time when I write a report, but I want to make it my own. So I am going to do a signature line. So I'm going to scroll down and I'm going to modify this end of report signature line. So when I click copy, yes, copy, what happened was the Easy Report Pro library resource just got copied into my own private library, my own resource. So in order for me to view it, I click my resources, and here's that statement, that end of report signature line that I just copied. So you'll see that I have a bit more functionality because it's my own private resource versus an Easy Report Pro resource. And one of those things is editing. So these obviously happen automatically. It's saved automatically into your own private library. And whatever you do with this resource, it doesn't impact the public library at all. Also, other people will not be able to view any of your own private resources, unless, of course, you share it with them. And if you share it with them, that is awesome. Okay, but we're going to edit this. So I'm going to click edit, and you'll see that I have a title. This is the title of the paragraph. This is essential. We need this. This is what shows up in our library. It shows up in our drop-down box. For the sake of example, I'm just going to put MB new. So this title, this MB new is going to show up in our list. This paragraph heading, this is, if you want a paragraph to have like a header in your report, you would put the heading here. If you don't want it, like I don't want a statement saying, this is your signature line or end of report statement. So I'm just leaving it blank. And the only thing that will show up is this information that's in the text box right here. So now this is my opportunity to be able to change things if I would like. So you'll notice right before I change things that we see some codes in here. These codes are the auto population codes that are accessed from this drop-down box, this auto populate box. So as I change this, I'm going to just use the code and so you can see how easy it is. So say I say it was a pleasure working with name. I'm going to just please reach out with any questions. Thank you for the opportunity to work with. And here I want to put the name. Now, so I'm going to choose this name. I'm going to choose the first name. Now, when I click add, the code goes to the very bottom of this text box. So you see it just popped up right here. But this means it's really easy for me to cut, to paste, put my period in, and then I'm also going to change my name and title. I'm going to put my name in, Michelle Boisvert. SLP. And obviously you can put in whatever your credentials are. Some people like to put in their license number. However you typically sign off on a report, that's what should be included here. So I'm just going to click update and my resource is now updated. I've got it right here in my own private library. For quick access, I'm just going to star it. I'm going to make it a favorite because I love how easy how short that list is. It makes it really easy for me to access it and to enter it into a report. So now I've got instant access to this. I can add this statement to an outline if I wanted to add it to an outline. If it's something that I use all the time, like a signature line, I would absolutely add it to my outline through the manage outline sections. Or you can add it into a report, and that's what I'm going to demonstrate tonight. So I made a report just as an example, Jackie. I'm going to click Manage Report Data. And you'll see in this report, I have like the Easy Report Pro template signature line. If I click View, this is the old stuff that I changed. I want to add in the one I just created. So the process is the same always when we add in a new resource to a report or to an outline. I click Add New Resource to Report. Now remember, I made it a favorite, so I'm just going to click onto Favorites. I'm going to select my drop-down box, my paragraph. Here is my new signature line. I want it at the very end. I'm going to click Add. Now, obviously, I have two signature lines. I don't want two signature lines, so I'm just going to delete that old one. Delete. Yep, see ya. And now here's my new one. If I clicked new, that new verbiage is right in there. My name is right in there. And I am happy. So again, that's just a really quick example of how to use it in a report. It becomes so powerful when you use it in an outline because you just change it once and that resource is automatically there every single time you use that outline. So that is an example of how we can modify and switch up paragraphs. Let's try a checklist now. So the process is basically the same. We navigate to the resource dashboard, but this time, of course, we click on checklists. Now, it's important to note that when we think about checklists, we have two really big choices when we think about the format of our checklists. We can choose to use checklists to build a paragraph, or we can create bullet lists. Both are generated based upon the text that we choose, but know that you have the option. You can have a paragraph if you want a paragraph. You can have a bullet list if you want a bullet list. And in some cases, it's really great to have the flexibility and the different options. You determine, so when we make our checklists through the easyReportPRO library, we've determined if that original resource is a paragraph or a bullet list. When you copy it and modify it, that's where you get to determine how you want your particular checklist to get formatted. Throughout a report, you might have 6 checklists that are in a paragraph format. Awesome. 2 that are in a bullet list format. Awesome. You can mix and match. It is totally fine. But that happens when we edit, and I'll show you in a few minutes. These checklists are incredibly helpful for descriptive or qualitative information, and it's great to have the ability to add your own. So I just want to show you what this looks like in a report to help visualize the flow of a checklist before we go and modify. So I'm going to go back to reports. I'm going to click on Jackie again. And we have 3 different types of checklists here. So I'm going to show you what it looks like when we enter in data, and then I'll show you what it looks like kind of in the write-up format. So the first one that we have is background information. So I'm going to click add and edit, and you can see I've got a bunch of options here. This particular checklist will generate a paragraph based on the sentences that are completed, or I'm sorry, that are checked off. So whatever sentences I select here, they're going to be strung together and they're going to create a paragraph. So I'm just going to click a few. So I've got our general statement. I have an area of strengths statement. This first is kind of like my topic sentence. I need this. And I'm just going to say, she is very, she is knowledgeable about different topics and facts and friendly. And then we can also have the areas of concern. So again, I'm going to do my topic sentence. This is going to show up. And then I'm going to say she has difficulty understanding oral language. You can just do a couple of them. Whatever I check off will be a part of that paragraph. Okay, I'm just going to show it to you. So when I view it, you'll see that here's a beautiful paragraph. All of those sentences are strung together and I'm good to go. Okay, so the next type of checklist, the example here is developmental history. And here, this checklist looks a little bit different. With this checklist, we use something called sentence stems, and along with a list that will fill in the rest of the sentence. So you can see here for developmental birth history, you can see this sentence, I want this. Great, she was born prematurely. But then you can see I kind of have a sentence fragment here. This is a sentence stem, and I'm going to choose the relevant things, the relevant developmental history items that I want to use for Jackie. Again, whatever I click will be inserted at the very end of this sentence. The other thing that you should know is that you obviously see commas underneath, after each item. When this gets used in a report, what the last comma just automatically gets changed to a period. So you can see the things that I've selected. All right. I click update. I'm going to click view. And again, this just created a really nice checklist. All of those things that I checked off are automatically at the end of that sentence. That period is in there, and it looks really fantastic. The last type of checklist that I want to show you is a bullet format checklist. And here I'm going to use the language observation. I'm going to click add and edit. And again, this was identified as a bullet format when I created this checklist. And I'll show you again how to do that in a moment. So here I kind of have a general statement. This kind of is going to start off my bullet checklist. And I have a description of the language, of Jackie's language. I can check off whatever I want. Here, I'll just switch it up a little bit. And as soon as I click update, view, you can see all of that information is right in a bullet checklist. It's awesome. And actually, even right now, if I view this entire report, you can see all of the different types of checklists and the way that they're used together, how they would come out in our report. We had our first report that our first checklist that just used sentences to generate a paragraph. Looks lovely. Developmental history that used a sentence stem with kind of a comma delimited list. And I got to choose which specific items were relevant for Jackie in this case. Fantastic. And then here's my language observation with my bullet points. So that's great. So now, for example, say, okay, I love the background information, but I want to add a few things. Sure. We're going to go back to the resource dashboard. And again, remember, this process is really similar to the paragraphs. I'm going to go to checklist and I'm going to scroll down to background information, which is right here. It's started already. Because this is the easyReportPRO libraries one, I have to copy it. Click copy. Yes, copy. It's now part of my own private resource. So I'm going to click my resources. And here is that copy. Now I get to edit it. So when I go in, I can edit the title. Again, I am just editing new, just for the sake of just example. This title, this is again what we see in our list of library resources. It's in all the drop-down menus. This checklist heading, in this particular case, I want a heading for my background information. Again, this is optional. If you prefer your paragraphs, particular paragraphs, to just be standalone paragraphs without a heading, you would leave that blank. But in this case, I want the heading. I'm going to click update information. And now I'm going to scroll down and you can see I have my general statements, and these are the sentences that I got to choose from in that report. But I'm just going to change one. So instead of name is currently supported through an IEP, I'm going to say name has an active IEP. Obviously, you can change the sentences however you would like. We have these auto population codes for you to use, so you can embed that essential productivity feature right as you write your checklist updates. So again, I'm going to click update, and that is saved, and I am good to go. So if I were to go and use this resource right now, it would have my own verbiage. But I also want to take this opportunity to show you how you can add in some statements brand new. So when you scroll to the very bottom of this long checklist, you can see we have an empty text box. You can type in a sentence, right, like item by item, line by line, if you would like, using this text box. Or you could go to this feature is called bulk entry, where you can add in several statements at once, or you can even copy and paste things from like a Word document, which I'll show you in a second. So just for the sake of example, I am going to just put in strength. I'm going to put in like another strength. So I want this right in my areas of strength. I'm going to put in another CERN. Obviously, when you do this, you would be far more professional and beautiful and eloquent. So you put in your statements, you click next step. It will automatically break down what you entered into the items you need for your checklist. You can elaborate if you want. So here, another strength, say I want to say the name as another strength. Awesome. And down here, maybe I want to say she has another concern. I'm going to scroll down. I'm going to click she. Copy. I'm going to copy and paste that. She demonstrates. Okay, another concern. I'll say has another concern, even though it was from the team, I know. Okay. Has another concern. One thing actually, while I'm right here, that's really helpful is that I want to point out is that in our drop-down box, you see how we have capital he, she, they. That's obviously if you're using the pronoun at the beginning of the sentence. You want a capital letter. If you're using the gender preferences in the middle of the sentence, we don't want it capitalized. You need to select the lowercase auto-population code. I'm going to click add items. Now those items are going to be brought in at the very end of our checklist. They're in our checklist. I'm happy about that, but it's at the very end. I obviously want to change it. Also here, I want to point out, this is where you could select if the checklist is an item, a sentence stem, or a display header. So to move things around very quickly, we're going to go up, and we're going to go to reorder items. Here is our checklist laid out. And I want to put name has another strength. I want to insert that right at number 12. So I can put in the number where I want it, and I can click move to, and that particular item just got moved to number 12. Of course, we have the up and down buttons here if you want to reorder your lists in that way as well. Okay, and then there's another concern. All right, so we have a question about what is a display header. A display header, here, areas of strength is an example of a display header. That is really for us, for a visual like title. You cannot select it in your check boxes, in your checklist, but it's used as a way to kind of visually break or like organize section information in checklists. It's really helpful when checklists become a bit longer. So that's a really great question. Now, just while we're here, when I click edit, this is also where I get to determine what format I want the checklist to be in, whether I want a bullet list, a paragraph format, or if I want to show options on the same line. Okay, here, but I'm going to keep it as in a paragraph, and I did it. I'm done. So I can return to resources. I'm actually going to make that again a favorite so I can just very quickly access it. If I went into my report, I go into Jackie. I don't want this background information now. I want my new background information. I click favorites, go to checklists, background information. Here's my new resources. It's going to be first. I'm going to add it. There's the background information, and I can delete the other one. Delete. And then there's my new one, and it's ready for me to go, ready to go right into a report. Finally, I want to show you how you can create a checklist really quickly. And you can create a checklist from scratch. It does take a few more minutes, but it's absolutely worth it. So to do that, we go back to our resource dashboard and click Create New Checklist. Now, the checklist I'm going to create is actually something from that I found from the Department of Education. And it's in a Word document, and I'm literally just going to copy and paste it and show you how easy it is to do that. And we have another question about same line, and I'll show you that, in just a moment. Okay, so I'm going to go into my Word document, and I want to use this checklist. It's for social and emotional. I'm going to click copy. I'm going to head on back over to my checklist. The checklist title, I'm going to type in social and emotional. Checklist heading, I want social and emotional. I want the heading in there. Now here, again, can choose bullet list, paragraph format, or show options on same line. So we just had a question about this. Show options on same line. There we go. This is really handy when you've got a lot of selections to choose from. And they're like short sections, like phonemes or sounds. An example would be the Goldman-Fristow test of articulation. We have an embedded checklist in that assessment where you can select the specific sounds that were errored in the assessment. Instead of having like a very, very long list of sounds, you can have them display one right after another, and it makes the selection much quicker and easier. In this case, though, for my social and emotional observational checklist, I want it as a bullet list. I'm going to click Update, and I'm going to go into the bulk entry. Here, remember, I copied something from Word. I'm going to paste it in Word, and I am going to kind of just modify this as I want. I don't want these squares in there, so I'm just literally going to delete them. You're going to see me just quickly deleting them. This is how easy it is. That's it. This is all I want to do. I'm going to click Next Step. It automatically populates into the format I need for my checklist. I want to make sure that I use social emotional. This is a sentence stem. It's a header. I don't want it to be part of my checklist, or I'm sorry, part of my bullet points, but I absolutely want everything else to be. So it looks good to me. I'm going to click Add All Items, and my checklist is completed. When I go back to resources, if I click My Favorites checklist, I see my social and emotional checklist here that I just made. I'm going to make it a favorite. I love it. I'm going to go into my report. Here's Jackie again. After language observation, I want to have that social and emotional checklist in there. I clicked favorites. I'm going to scroll down. Here's social and emotional. I want it right after language observation. If I click resource, it's in. I can add in the selections that I want. Awesome. I'll add in just like my background information that I wanted. Great. And I am done. So when I view social and emotional, it's right there. Again, when I view all of the resources that I just used for this report, you can see that I've got checklists that in a paragraph format, these first two, and then these last two checklists in a bullet format. And so that's really how you can customize these resources to fit your clinical setting, your school setting, your amazing area of expertise. You can shape these resources so they really fit who you are as a clinician and reflect the way that you like to report on information. So I really hope you found that helpful. I find using checklists and modifying them and making them my own one of the most powerful features of this system. So I hope you found it helpful, and I hope you reach out with any questions.
Wow, that was a lot of information in a short period of time. Fantastic overview, Michelle. Touching on all the different areas about how to create and use each individual type of checklist. My guess is that people are going to have a few more questions as they get into it. And that's really what we look for. Watching a webinar like this and kind of going through it gives you the information to get started. And so what we recommend you do is to go in there and kind of follow along. Copy a checklist and a paragraph first and make some changes to it. Then work up to creating your own. And as you go through that, if you've got it figured out, then fantastic. If you don't, do not hesitate to reach out. Again, this is where the system starts to really expand the value, where you can really get to making your own customized reports. Next week, we're going to be getting into scored assessments, which kind of takes it to a whole other level. Being able to set up your scoring structures, classifications, embedded checklists. So using checklists that you've created to put right in an assessment. So it gets even a little bit more. And so as you go through this, again, don't hesitate for any questions. If you need a little bit more help, go into the platform and just set up a one-on-one, and we'll schedule some time, walk through, help you create your first set of resources. So anything else you can think of for tonight, or I think we're good?
I think we're good.
All right.
Thank you guys. Thank you all so much. The questions are fantastic.
Thank everybody again for a great webinar, and we'll see you next week. Have a good night.
Bye.
Bye.